The strong sense of partnership that exists between SOS Children's Villages and some of Somalia's poorest communities has made it possible for the organisation to continue to work there at a time when many others have been forced to quit. Such trust enabled Austrian Monika Psenner to visit the capital Mogadishu this week. Her first impressions were influenced by the landscape that surrounds Badbaado camp, a place which is home to over 30,000 internally displaced people.
My first impression I had when I was still sitting on the plane, and I thought, well, what a marvelous place, directly at the shores of the Indian Ocean and covers a huge area. And then one of the emergency camps, we could see the huge space this emergency camp was covering. And that sort of created the first impression of how big the dire situation is. We went to Badbaado camp where we have our clinic, and also now we have the child-friendly space. And the way SOS Somalia has put up the child-friendly space with 362 children coming every day. I went in there and we inflated some balloons together with the boys and the girls, and they were laughing and there were smiles on their faces, and this was just fantastic because I was talking to the staff there and I asked about the changes in the children, if they could see any changes already, and apparently they see massive changes only after a few days, after a few weeks of this child-friendly space being installed. Somehow they are starting to really regenerate and start coping with the trauma they have suffered. From the camp, we also went to our temporary clinic about 1 kilometer away from the children's village, which is currently closed. Yes, you see a lot of desperation, and you see the children, they are there with their mothers, and they're all very sick and very glossy eyes, and you see they have a fever and all that. But at the same time, when talking to the people, somehow they feel that someone's there for them to cater for their needs, someone's taking care of them, and I think this is somehow really giving them some form of hope. I didn't find any very obvious signs of here is a lot of humanitarian aid and assistance and international humanitarian actors, because people try not to actually show that they belong to an NGO because of the security situation. If I compare that to Gode, for example, to southern Ethiopia, the Somali regional state, there you can see all the big NGOs and the UN agencies. They come with cars with big labels and logos, and so that alone leaves a completely different impression. What you see is destruction. It's so war-torn for so many years. This is incredible, and this has really left a strong impression on me.
One of the buildings that has withstood over 2 decades of strife is the SOS hospital in North Mogadishu. This and the nearby children's village was completely evacuated in October. Did you manage to get as far as the hospital?
We couldn't go there. Well, the hospital remains closed for the time being. It's still a battle zone. We went to see the temporary clinic, which has now been opened in order to cater for the needs of those people who were originally attending the hospital. And that is about 1 kilometer away from the SOS hospital. And we really hope that we can continue with this temporary facility, because at the moment we really don't know when we are able to reopen the hospital or when mothers and their children are able to go back to the children's village.
SOS Somalia has overcome many challenges over the years. What do you believe is the greatest challenge they face at the moment?
Certainly it's security. It's the security issue that hampers them from really doing work which they could do and which the population utterly needs. But at the same time, really, I've seen for myself and with my own eyes the great work they are doing, and it's so impressive. It's really so impressive. And there will be a greater need in Baidoa, in our second location, further down south, where up to 16 NGOs have been expelled just recently, a few days ago. And that means that nutrition and health organizations remaining is not that many. So the need will increase because of that gap that the leading of these organizations is creating. And we now need to see how to cope with that. We'll definitely have to stay there with our emergency programs. We'll have to stay there for more time. It's not that we can, after 6 months, we can close down our project and say, okay, now we do business as usual. No, because the situation does not allow for it, and the need will still be there. So yes, we will stay as long as these needs are increased. And of course, we're also trying to look into rehabilitation activities. How can we help these people? How can we encourage these people also to go back to their traditional homelands and perhaps start agricultural activities again as much as possible? The next rains are anticipated earliest in April. So we are facing another dry period now. It will mean that emergency will be high on the agenda for the next few months.